Today, we're looking back at a year of insane growth and crazy pressure. Designing a house from scratch, growing neighbor media, building a scalable product from nothing, taking hits with the big ball, and becoming a dad. Let's get into what really happened in 2025.
Into the rhythm of my intuition. Anything I want, I speak into existence. That's how I'm living.
Okay, 2025 coming to an end. Let's do a year in review.
If you had to describe 2025 in one word, what would it be and why?
One word, intense. I would say intense is the word for it. And why? A lot of different things all happening at the same time. So it felt intense. You know, we have businesses and houses and kid and everything else in between. So yeah, I would say intense is a good summary word for 2025.
Was this the hardest year of your life or the most meaningful?
I would say definitely the most meaningful because it was first year with Grayson. Hardest year, that's debatable too. You know, I always try to remind myself this is the life that you would always wish for, all the things that are going on. So, you know, as hard as it can be thankful and grateful. I think back of January 2022 when we essentially started from nothing. Elisa and I were in a 800 square foot basement apartment, and there was we had nothing going on. I wasn't doing summer skates anymore and lost the big ball manufacturer. Neighbor Media didn't exist at that time, right? And the company that she worked for went out of business, so she didn't have a job. So I would say probably 2022 would be the hardest year. But again, when you're building like that, the stakes get higher and higher, and the pressure builds. So it was super hard. 2025 was super hard because I said it was intense, but definitely the most meaningful because it's first year being a dad, and you know, just so many amazing things that are going on. So yeah.
Let's start with the house. You designed a full 1,800 square foot bungalow from scratch with demo, foundation, framing, siding, roofing, trades, everything. What was the moment you realized, oh, I'm really doing this?
Yeah, so we bought the property in September or October of 2024, and then didn't just sat on it because Grayson was coming December 1st. Did that, and then January we started with the design of everything. You know, working with the designer, going back and forth on that, which was a whole process. Then into the spring, and then in June, I think is when we demoed the old house. I think when we demolished the original house that was on the property, that was like the, oh shit, this is real moment. Like the house that you had bought there is no longer there. And going through that demo process, we got rid of a bunch of dead trees that were in the backyard, and then got rid of the little house that was on the property. And then started to dig the basement. But it was that moment when the machine was actually going. That's when it was like, oh shit, this is real.
What part of this build tested you the most? Was it decisions, delays, budgets, dealing with the trades, or managing family expectations?
Probably the hardest is just being patient through it all. You know, it's a big process also to this would be impossible to do without my dad and my father-in-law, Phil, and my brother-in-law, Doug, and the whole team that's around it. I know that Elisa and I are super thankful for everyone that's kind of helping with the project too. And so with that, but being patient kind of through it, you know, you get excited, you want to get it done, but you know, it's a big thing. You're building a house from scratch and a lot of things go into it. And so just being patient, I think, has been a hard thing. Obviously, you're going to have ups and downs and a lot of, I would call decision fatigue that comes in because you're making so many decisions along the way. if you think of all the different line items it takes to build a house, and then on each one, there's multiple quotes and decisions to be made and pricing and thinking about the overall budget and little hiccups that pop up naturally in a big project. So yeah, all of it. All of it.
What part brought you the most joy? The wall layout, the roof going on, seeing rooms take shape?
Yeah, like really once it got framed, right? So we dug a basement, right? Poured the basement, which was awesome. Built the walls. But then once Doug and Justin started framing the house and you actually see it like get built out and you actually get a visual of what it's going to be, that was so exciting. And then when you could walk through and see all the inside of it framed, and you could see, the main area, because it's all open concept, and in your bedroom and the closets and the kids' bedrooms, and you start to see it really come to life. That was a big one. And then when the exterior started happening, like the siding and the roof and everything, because then it's like, oh, like right now it looks like it's a house. Like on the outside of it, you'd be like, oh, you could move into this, right? Because now all the windows are in, the siding is in, the roof is on, the eaves troughs are in, the downspouts are in, right? The decks are built. And now we're onto the inside. But definitely the framing, when you could see it framed.
Let's look ahead to spring 2026. What does moving into that house represent to you personally?
I don't know. It's going to be big though. It's going to be big. Like really just putting roots down, I guess, is going to be a big feeling towards it, right? Have our own place that we know that we're going to be there for a while too, and a spot that for Grayson to grow up and, any future siblings that he has. So yeah, it just feels like it's a monumental moment. And again, on the patient side of it, right, you're like looking forward to it so much that it's going to be pretty incredible. That first night is going to be wild.
Let's look ahead to Neighbor Media. It grew 50% year over year in 25. That's crazy. What was the moment you realized that this wasn't small anymore, that this was a real company?
Yeah, I think at the end of 24, when we did our planning for 25, we set big, ambitious goals. That's like kind of this turning point of like, okay, this is, it was a great business, and, we had, we were building momentum, but once you start getting like hiring people and, now you're responsible for them. And we knew that 2025 was going to be a kind of a big growth year for us. And like I said, we set ambitious goals and we hit them and actually exceeded them a little bit too, which was nice because, when you're laying it out, we talk about it a lot in this room of like, the plan feels good, right? When you're mapping it out, but then you have to go and do the work and actually hit those numbers. So that's always nice to actually do what we set out to do. And, it was a big growth year. And, like when we had our holiday party and you see all the different people that are involved in it and what it's grown into and what it's continuing to grow into, it's exciting time.
Building your team. Trisha became full-time. Chris went from intern to hired. You hired Hope, a full-time editor, and a media buyer. What did you learn about leadership through everything?
Yeah, that's something that I'm still learning and figuring out. I knew that this kind of era in my business career was going to kind of be about that. A lot of the time you could create products and services and then just do like the full of it. But, a real company or business, you need to have team members and, learning how to do the whole thing. It's still new to me, right? So what I've learned is to over communicate. That should be like a core of it. Just communication is the key to success when dealing with or building a team, and making sure everyone's clear on what we're setting out to do, how to do it, and having follow-up meetings. And, it's just going back to communication, lots and lots of communication.
Was there a difference between hustling as a founder versus delegating as a builder?
Yeah. And this is like still the learning periods that I am in, because most of my business career was just like, you just do all the work yourself, really. But you're capped out. You become the constraint in the business if you do that, and can get you to a certain point. And listen, you can do that and make a lot of money that way too, but you're going to be capped out at a certain point. And learning how to delegate and have that mindset first when you're kind of like building out products and services, that's going to be my big focus for 2026. Yeah. It's a learning curve, though.
Let's move on to Neighbor Media's newest product, Good Neighbors. Idea from a product to the launch. It literally went from a sketch to version 1 to actually selling and launching in your first community. What was that journey like?
Yeah, it was exciting. And, I always love this stuff too. And, always proud of being able to work with speed as well. And, don't, what's the saying of perfectionism is procrastination in disguise, right? Like, go from idea to sketch, right? Map it out, kind of think about it, bounce it around, talk to people about it, right? And then kind of get to that version 1 of it, make it real, right? Going from idea to reality as quickly as possible, then shaping it, and then being like, okay, let's go out and launch it and actually sell it and present it to people to see if they want to be a part of it. And just do that in did that June, July, August, 3 months. And then in September, launched in September in the first municipality of Newmarket. It was exciting, and it continues to be exciting. I think everyone in this office knows that I'm excited about it. Yeah. And I can't wait for 2026 to double, triple down on it.
And you're now ready to launch a second community in 2026. You've built a roadmap for expansion. What excites you the most about that, and what scares you the most?
Yeah, so we launched Newmarket first, and then in November, we kind of pitched all the partners for Aurora, and we're ready to launch that in January 1st. So we'll have the 2 communities, Good Neighbors Newmarket, Good Neighbors Aurora. And I'm excited for the partners that trust us to be a part of it, because we're going to work our asses off to over-deliver and make it the best possible platform and service that we can. And I'm excited for that because it's a ton of value for them, and it's just exciting. Then there's an expansion roadmap to go into other municipalities, which is exciting and scary too, because then we're going to break out of where our core area is. And everyone knows what Neighbor Media is in Aurora, Newmarket, and East Gwillimbury, but we're going to go and launch in Barrie first, and no one knows who Neighbor Media or Miles or Lynette or Lisa is. And that will be the true test. What scares me is always just not being able to deliver on what we say, but we're super intentional about that to make sure that we don't mess that up. So I think it's good to have that fear, because that will protect you of not doing it, right? Like, if you're scared to fail, you're not going to fail.
What was one decision this year that made Good Neighbors real?
Just acting quickly, right? Like, you could have the idea, and we could have kicked around the idea and like ironed it out and be like, oh yeah, that's great. Let's wait till 2026 to launch the first one, right? Like, but instead we acted quickly and got it going with speed. And then now we have momentum behind it going into 2026, right? Like, making that decision is so crucial. If we had waited and tried to perfect the idea before, releasing it into the world, we would be into January, be like, okay, here we go. And then the first one would have launched in March, and then the second one would have launched in May, right? And then now you're halfway through the year, when we decide to just act quickly and really push on it quick. We're going into 2026 with 2 active ones, right? And we already learned a ton in the last 120 days of systems and processes to be able to do that. So that was the best decision.
Let's move on to the big ball. Give us the 2025 overview of the big ball.
Yeah. We grew this year, even though we had a ton of headwinds from a bunch of internal kind of business stuff, which again, I've probably said a million times, but there will be a day where I will do a full deep dive on everything that has gone down with it. But yeah, and like I said, internal business stuff, and then tariff things happened and had to get a new manufacturing order, but continued to do what needed to be done, and grew the business even though I was facing all those things. And then now, as we sit here in December of 2025, I have a couple very exciting things that are possible. I'm not going to say that they're completed yet because I want to get it over the finish line before I celebrate any wins. But hopefully early in the new year, we're doing a full breakdown of the Big Ball Golf Company and its next chapter. Yeah. Other than that, more to come soon.
Let's move on to now your health, stress, breathwork, and self-awareness. Let's be real. Your health had ups and downs this year. What did you learn about managing stress while building multiple companies and a house?
What I learned most about stress is it all comes down to nervous system regulation. I think that's the big learning, the big takeaway. And as well being aware of how stress affects your body and where it comes from. And, if you kind of just try to live like this and power through it or white knuckle it, which as we know, I've done a few times throughout the year, that it will come back to bite you in the ass. So really have awareness on it and do things, systems, practices to kind of regulate or build nervous system resilience, which we have led to onto the breathwork side of it. That has been the big unlock of 2025 is integrate breathwork into my life. And it works. It absolutely works. Shout out to the boy, Nick Sweeney. He's the one that put me on it. And can't imagine not having it in my life now. And I'm going to double down on that into the new year. And you're always going to be stressed. Like stress is a part of life, right? If you don't have any stress in your life, I think that you're doing something wrong. But stuck stress is a different thing. Like if you're just constantly carrying stress and not doing anything, then you can't be prepared for when like stressful things happen, stressful moments, stressful events, stressful times. So you don't want to be carrying around stuck stress 24/7 too. But then you also want to build a practice and build resiliency for when stress does show up in your life, because it inevitably will, right? Whether that's work or, Grayson gets sick or Elisa gets sick or a hiccup happens with the house or something that I wasn't expecting on the big ball happens or whatever it is, right? Like, but being able to handle it is the real unlock.
Was breathwork and nervous system training actually helpful or just another thing to check off?
Yeah, like I think at the beginning it was just something that I was checking off because there wasn't enough time to actually feel the benefits of it yet. But now, after kind of going through a long period of it, it's 100% like a needed thing, not just a check the box of it. So super intentional about it because, it's not like I changed a ton of things in my life, but I did add that in, and how I felt mentally was drastic. No crazy like panic attacks. So that's a good thing.
What's one health habit you want to bring into 2026 consistently?
Sauna. Like I've always like gone in and out of the sauna like in different periods, but that's the one that I'm going to try to add in like and be super regular, 3-4 times a week. I have to like restructure like kind of what my day and my game plan is, my daily rhythm for that to happen, because there's only so many hours in the day, and 20 minutes in the sauna, that adds up. But yeah, sauna for sure is the one that I'm adding in, as well too, just more cardio, zone 2 and zone 4 or 5, like having that in there. Don't just go in and lift weights. Just add that element into it and build up a big cardiovascular base. That's like a huge target of mine.
I will say it is easy to go into the gym and just lift weights.
Yeah.
Because it's there.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, go in, get a pump, feels good, but I've done that for too long now. I want to build in the cardio part of it. It will help everything else too. It will go back to that kind of nervous system and stress regulation as well too. Like that's going to help putting that kind of cardio stress in the mix. So sauna also helps on the cardio side of it too. So I guess really the big theme is more cardiovascular focused in 2026.
1 full year of being Grayson's dad. What surprised you the most about fatherhood?
Yeah. Happy birthday, Grayson. I love you so much. 1 full year. It's been amazing. I don't know if anything has surprised me other than how it's really hard. But it's so much joy that comes with it too, watching him grow and develop. And, you just think back of a full year of Grayson and how much he's grown and changed. It's incredible to watch like a human do that. Yeah, it means the most. I think I've always known that I was meant to be a dad, and now I get to experience it, and it's been amazing.
Do you see the world differently now, as in like business, legacy, and decisions? How did becoming a dad change all that?
Yeah, I do see the world differently now. I think more of how I view time, right? And like it just slips away so quickly, time, right? And when you don't have a lot of responsibilities, it's easy for time to get wasted, which, isn't a bad thing. It's just, it changes then when you have a kid. And I think, my relationship with time and what you're doing with that time and how it's spent, that's been the big change for the best. So really you're going to get into, I think, a theme moving forward will kind of be like time optimization, right? Like I said, it's like you sleep for 8 hours, you have 16 waking hours. What are you going to do with that, right? You're going to split that up into health, work, and life. And then how are you getting the most out of all those hours or those chunks of your day? So really like thinking of time more deeply, and then as well being like intentional, being present in those moments of time. I would say that was been the big perspective shift with Grayson.
What is one moment from this year with Grayson that is locked in your memory forever?
I would say that it's like a moment, but that I get to experience lots. And that is when I come home from work and he's like playing with Elisa and she's like, "Oh, daddy's home." And then like his reaction to that like moment is pure magic. And I get to experience that lots and lots and lots. And there's so many, but like if I could boil it down to the one, it's that he's just like so happy. Obviously crawling for the first time is wild, then walking, and now he's like a walking animal, and which adds a whole bunch of different fears that come with it. But that as well, back onto different perspective thing. Like when you watch like a baby like growing, how they're experiencing the world, it's like, it's just pure experience. Like we put like the voice in our own head, like kind of narrating our life of what we do and the decisions that we make. But like his is just like pure experience in the moment. And there's like something very special about that. So that's another like quick perspective thing that I've picked up from him. Be more like Grayson and live purely through experience.
What was the hardest moment of the entire year?
The hardest moment it was when Grayson got sick, for sure. Grayson got sick like a week or so before his first birthday. His first time ever getting sick. It sucked, and seeing him change so drastically because essentially a virus is moving his way through him, and he had to go to the emergency room, which was horrible, and just seeing him not be himself. That was probably the hardest moment that I could think of. And it was probably because it's recent, but that one sucked big time. And yeah, really, that's I would put that as the hardest moment. Life is hard though, so you're going to feel it.
What did that moment teach you about yourself?
That I'm okay to drop everything if my family needs me.
What's the win that you're most proud of this year? One thing that worked because you just refused to quit.
I'll say Good Neighbors, because Good Neighbors, it happened quickly, but really it's a culmination of the 3 years of building Neighbor Media and constantly trying to figure out like what it is that we're trying to do on this side, which it was through a lot of iteration, right? Like I've been on the pursuit of creating like this the most valuable like hyper local advertising tool that I could think of, right? And in the Neighbor Media world, like kind of the internet side of it has always been my area of focus, right? We do many things, Lynette and Elisa, and now Trish, that they're responsible for, Chris now too on the studio side of it, like all these different elements. But I was looking for kind of the scalable product. But at the base of it was there's a local business owner in every community. That local business owner, like what is it that they need, right? That they can afford to buy, that has clear deliverables on it, and that's super valuable. What does that look like? And there's been like, again, lots of iterations of what that is and trying to figure it out. And then I just feel like Good Neighbors is the collection of all that. So I'll put it on that.
If 2025 was building the foundation, figuratively and literally, what's 2026 going to be about?
It's going to be about hyper growth.
Now finish this sentence. In 2026, I'm
going to be an animal.
Nice. 2025 was messy, meaningful, and full of growth. What's one thing you built this year, internally or externally? Drop it in the comments and tell us your biggest win from 2025.